What's good, y'all? Going to a little networking event tonight. One of my friends invited me to real estate networking, commercial real estate. So I'll show y'all a little bit of that. We in the Capitol right now. Hella late to this joint, y'all. Hella late, but it's a pretty nice building, y'all. And y'all see it? Dapper down, dapper down, dapper down, yes sir.
Get to an NOI video mortgage and so on and so forth, and create some level of return on investment for investors. So those are all of the good parts of the fund.
Hey, safe travels, bro.
All right, y'all, leaving the event now. It was a good event. Met a lot of people doing stuff similar to what I'm trying to do, group home investing, stuff like that. My boy Hackshaw, like I said, Stefan, invited me out there. And it's always a good events that he invites me to, a lot of good networking. And when I say networking, it's not just like, I'm not just one of them people who's like, oh, network. But like when I actually network, I'm finding like when I say network, I'm finding actual valuable connections of people who I could work with in the future. So I don't say it lightly. But yeah, make sure y'all get out there whenever you can. You'd be surprised at the people you meet at these events. I met this lady, she's doing crazy stuff, like, and then the guy I met it's just people doing crazy stuff, man. And if you don't surround yourself, or if you don't have exposure to these people, am I going the right way? Yeah, I am. If you don't have exposure to these people, you won't even know what's possible. So, just make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who got way more going on than you feel me? Because by association, you gonna do something crazy yourself, just based off association. So make sure you're doing that. And yeah. All right, guys, so got back from the event. Just wanted to get some insight on some lessons I learned. I was taking some notes during the event. The guy speaking was like Boo or Bo. I don't know. I got there late, so I don't know what his last name was, but that's what they're referring to him as. He does commercial real estate and I'm sure a lot of stuff. But one thing that he said was past success, or one lesson that I got from him was past success doesn't guarantee future success. And with this, you could kind of think of like the COVID, for example. Like everyone was balling during COVID, whether you're doing stocks, real estate, anything. Interest rates were low, money was flowing in everywhere. So no matter what you did, you was making you had to be stupid to lose money during COVID, almost like. So my point is, just because you were balling during COVID, that time period, or after COVID, doesn't mean you're going to be balling now when we're in a much more tougher market. Whether it's stocks or real estate, we're in a tougher market altogether. Economy's harder to make money in right now. So, past success doesn't determine future success. So if you're going to go into something, you really got to study the market and really know what you're trying to do, really have a deep understanding for what you're trying to do, and not just think, okay, I did good last time in this. That means I'm guaranteed to do good now, because you'll mess up doing that, thinking that you could just transition and not having a deeper understanding of how you're going to maneuver in different markets. Another one was capital. So access to capital really gives you a lot more opportunities and allows you to be more nimble with the decisions that you make. So someone who's, has a lot of capital, has a lot of access, or is sitting on a lot of cash, is able to, wait around. They're able to just make more strategic, more smarter decisions, because you're not coming from a mindset where you're starving, or where I have to make this thing work. So it's more so gives you the power to be like, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm gonna step away, try this. Or if this thing is working, okay, I could throw all this at it. You know what I mean? You just have like a lot more opportunity. Obviously, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's kind of, that would be common knowledge to know that if you have more capital, you have more opportunities. But it's kind of deeper than that when you really think about it, because it's more so the mindset and the position it allows you to move in with having that capital or access to it. So, you know, being well funded is an important thing. And then also, you have to be a long term player in the game. And, you know, a channel I watch, EYO, they're always saying this, you know, you have to put time in the market. You have to put time in the market. And, you know, being a long term player, the longer you're in something, the more you understand it, the deeper knowledge you have, the more experience, the more mistakes you've made, the more good things you've done. So you just really have like a deep, deep knowledge and understanding for that game, for that industry. So you're able to move differently than other people because you know it's ingrained in you. And then on top of that, whatever asset you have, if you put time at it, it's gonna grow most likely. Like if you even look at whatever you look at, if you put time at it, it's usually gonna grow. Um, and you have a increased chance of it growing over time versus quick flips, which is all fine, but you know, just putting that time in, having those long-term plays, could really play off for, you know, just long-term wealth growth and stuff like that. So, you know, it's good to have short-term flips, all that sort of thing, quick money, but then you also want to have like long-term plays too. And then another thing that he said was, I think someone asked, how does he deal with the risk? And his answer to that was, he really makes sure that he's comfortable with the decisions he's making. And I don't think he meant that he was necessarily, you know, comfortable with the analysis, because sometimes you have to go in, no matter how much analysis you do, how much something looks good, you know, you still could be scared to do it. So I think he was, or what he was getting at was that he's comfortable with whatever happening and whatever lesson he'll learn, because not everything will always go right. And one example that he gave was he was working under the mayor of DC at a certain point, and he wasn't really making a lot of money, but the lessons that he learned during that time were invaluable, and the connections that he made were invaluable, connections he still has to this day. So, you know, sometimes you might have to make a decision where necessarily it doesn't always play out in your favor, but in the long run, he was saying he believes that everything happens for a reason. So even though he was at that point, it ended up, and at that specific time, it looked like, you know, it was a bad decision, not leaving and moving on. It ended up working out in his favor because he has connections that he could still leverage to this day. So just being comfortable with the decisions you make, and in turn realizing, okay, I might make this decision, it might end in me losing money, but at the end of the day, I made that decision, and now I know what to do or what not to do. And obviously the goal isn't to lose money any time, but it's the name of the game. It's going to happen. So just being comfortable with that decision, like you having supreme confidence in yourself and knowing, okay, at the end of the day, I'm a win. Regardless of what happens, I'm a win. So all these decisions that I make, all of them are just leading to my success. And it's just, you know, it's not a linear path. It's more so just, you know, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs, until you finally get to that point. Another thing that he mentioned was politics. So a lot of the stuff they were referencing was the DC market. So if y'all know what's happening in DC right now, or not necessarily DC, well, yeah, DC and the whole country, but you know, there's a lot of politics when it goes into zoning and permitting and all these sorts of things. So you're saying like really having an understanding and, you know, realizing that politics does affect deals. You may think that you're far removed from politics, but it really does affect your deals and your everyday life, as far as you being an investor or things like that. So one example he gave is how in DC, from the time he was working in DC 20 years ago to today, the process of permitting has not improved at all, has not sped up at all. And this is something that directly comes down from lawmakers, policymakers. So, that right there really, does affect you. Policy, law, it does all of that. It affects you. And you shouldn't just ignore it. And then that point goes into my last note that I took, which was groupthink, avoiding groupthink. That's what it was. So avoiding, and then no one realizing when you're in a situation where everyone has groupthink. He brought this up because it was also same thing. He had a really good point. He was saying something about diversity and how he used to think that diversity was bringing more black people into the space and bringing more people of color, more women to, come into these types of rooms. But then what he realized too is that diversity is really also having mindset diversity. So you can get to a point where you have so much of the same type of people in the room who are thinking in this sort of way, in a certain type of way, that everyone just has groupthink. And yeah, the place may look diverse and everything. You might have, what you would say is a diverse group, but at the end of the day, there's no difference in the way that people are thinking. And this is very dangerous because once you're in an environment with groupthink, there's no room to grow no more, because everyone's okay. This is the idea we're going with. Let me not oppose the idea. This is what we're going to stick with. This is what works. And there's no room for innovation. There's no room for improvement because your ideas are not being challenged. If no one's challenging your ideas, you can't grow. I don't care what your idea is. If it's not being challenged by someone, you can't grow. So, just really making sure to identify when you're in those places of groupthink, and I guess avoiding them, or you being that person who's like, okay, I'm gonna be the person who goes against the grain or asks this question or comes up with this idea. And the reason I said that came into the point of the last was because he was saying that a lot of the circles in DC have really, a lot of groupthink, and that's why he believes that a lot of the policy making is not advantageous to speeding up the development of housing and permitting and things like that. But that's pretty much all I had, guys. Was just taking notes, a little bit of notes while the speaker was presenting, while the speakers were talking. Shout out to all of them. Dropped some free game on us. Actually, it wasn't free. You had to pay. You had to pay for the game, but they did feed us, so it was all good. And regardless if they didn't feed us, you feel me, I think I paid like $20, and that's definitely worth it to me, You got to pay to play sometimes, and yeah, it is what it is. Tomorrow we'll be going to another event, real estate event. It's funny, it just happened to be same week. End up going to two in the same weekend, but I'll be doing that tomorrow too. That one's in Baltimore, and it's pretty long, so I'll try to film a good amount of it. But appreciate y'all tuning in. Like always, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate y'all supporting the content.